I'm out today hunting for chestnut wood here in the beautiful Blue Ridge Mountains. This is what's left of the once mighty chestnut forests. You can still find some, surprisingly, even though the chestnuts really, the big ones, died off, you know, half a century ago. There are still the remains of them, and you can actually find some usable wood. Chestnut is pretty rot resistant, not quite as good as black locust or cedar, like red cedar, but it's still up there. It was used for fence posts at one point, which is another good source. But you see almost all of them, the middle is rotted out, but you still get the outer inch or maybe up to 3 inches. This isn't really the best piece, but it's all over the place up here if you can manage to find where it was growing and someone else hadn't already come by and picked it up. But it's easy to identify once you know what you're looking at. Over something like locust, which is also all over the place up here. And locust is good stuff too, but you know, the weathering is different. Locust is really smooth and there's more of it. You can see it's mostly in actual logs, that kind of thing. But chestnut, the way it weathers, it gets, you get weathering in between. You get this kind of a striated weathering effect, and it's also obvious that it's not oak because you don't have rayflex in chestnut, not to the same degree that you would in oak or something. So there are lookalikes, of course, but the easiest, I mean, if that fails, you can always take your knife and trim away at the edge, and it's easy to tell if it's chestnut because the color is so distinct. And again, you don't really have the same kind of rayflex as you do on oak. So you can look at the quarter grain there and see that there's no wide rayflex. And you know, that's a beautiful chestnut color. I mean, it's teak color, or whatever you want to say, but if you can manage to find some, it's worth hauling back with you if you like to do projects with smaller bits of wood. You're not really going to find lumber this way. You probably have to buy that or get it out of an old barn or a house or something. And it's out there, but a lot of this stuff, if you can find solid pieces, it's good for really good for knife handles and small turning projects. And boy, it kills me to see these big pieces, but they're all just, I mean, that's gone. But you just walk around. I mean, that's the remnants of some. Depends on how far you're out and whether you got a vehicle or something to carry it back with you, but I just did find some figured chestnut that I already brought back to the house. So I'm just porting all this stuff out by hand today. I know where there's another big one down here. Again, you see stuff like this, beautiful, but that's locust. Black locust, Robinia pseudoacacia. And of course, if you know where some currently living chestnuts are, it's a good bet that you'll find the remnants of the dead ones. Because the chestnuts, they're not all totally dead, but they don't get big anymore. And I know this area hasn't been timbered in a very, very long time. My great-grandpa never did timber it. And you can see we have these giant rhododendron breaks, so he would have removed those if he had timbered it. Here's the remnants of another really big one, and that's a pretty good little piece there. I'm thinking I might be able to dig up the base of some of these. Down in that rhododendron thicket, I found the base of one that might be solid enough to dig up. And you can also stabilize this as well if you were inclined to do so. But chestnut has always had kind of a rustic look, and that's its appeal, really. It's kind of ironic. Chestnut trunk with a hemlock growing out of it. It'll probably be dead soon from the woolly adelgid. Let's see if I can show you them. If it'll focus. There you go, that's a woolly adelgid. It's slowly killing all the hemlocks. This is probably Tsuga canadensis. There's also Tsuga carolinensis, I believe. Those are smaller and less common. But hemlock, for that matter, it's good wood too if you can find the old growth stuff. Some of the lower branches are extremely dense and very hard. The big lumber isn't usually very hard, but it's nice and dry right now. So that's why I'm out hunting it. It rains so much up here. It'd be a pretty muddy job hauling it out during wet weather, but you can look for fence posts. Most of the fence posts up here are black locust, but that might be a piece of chestnut right there. And this thing, that might be a pretty long piece of chestnut too. That's kind of cool. But yeah, figure out where your living chestnuts are, and you should be able to find some of the bases of the old ones. I'm trying to find a living chestnut to show you. They don't get much bigger than maybe wrist sized anymore in trunk thickness, but I know there's some down here. That might be no, that's a hickory. Well, they're up here, but they don't get much, much bigger than your forearm anymore. That's what's left of one. You can also look for your rhododendron burls while you're at it. Saw a really good one in here the other day. If I can locate it. There's more chestnut. Really pops out at you once you know what you're looking for. Beautiful day to be hunting for it though.